this is the bee dance. Let's see, what's it called?
This is called Swarm.
Swarm, you're right. The artist is right. So yeah, and there's a lot of depth in this too, and texture. And I mean, you can it's so interesting how it's just interesting how the negative, positive and negative spaces play with each other, and then you made these motion lines through here. I mean, it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous, and this is the quality that you're getting. The thing is, these take. It's not just her time; it's the skill, the expertise. Now, are these mounted on panel?
Right. Beeswax, or the encaustic painting, if you're using beeswax, is mainly done on a rigid surface. There are some waxes that you can use. In contemporary encaustic painting, there are a variety of waxes that can be used, and beeswax is typically done on a rigid surface like a panel, and the larger painting behind us was done on canvas, and that's microcrystalline wax in oil painting, and that is a more flexible wax that you can paint on a flexible surface, so canvas is fine.
Well, I noticed that you like to work a lot with things of nature. So how do you determine your subject matter and your themes that you work with? Because that's very inspiring.
Ever since I was small, I have loved being outdoors. It's really hard for me to be inside, particularly on a beautiful day. I really love nature. So when I was in junior high school, this city girl was obsessed with horses ever since I was small. So my parents didn't have a lot of money, and I don't know, I have that personality that if I get something in my head, like the trip to Europe, but this was at a younger age, I was determined I was going to have a horse. So I babysat, I mowed lawns, I worked at a market, at an outdoor market, and finally I had enough money that I could buy my own horse. So I had this horse, and then I bought a bicycle so I could ride out to the country to where I was keeping this horse. This is how crazy I was determined. The horse actually has become sort of a totem to me, something that probably kept me from getting into more trouble than I did when I was in high school. And it was something that kept me kind of a little bit on the straight and narrow.
That's good.
And so the horse comes back to me in times of, I don't know, when everyone maybe feels like the world gets a little tough at times, and sometimes the horse comes back and helps me to sort of focus and rearrange my thinking to deal with the challenges of life. And then again, when I was in my mid-20s to mid-30s, I did have 22 horses.
I was going to ask if you had a horse now.
No, I don't now. No, the circumstances aren't such. But so the horse comes back occasionally. The Swarm, this one, I've had really interesting encounters with bees since I began working in caustic, a few summers ago. I believe it was 2009. We actually had a swarm of bees, a wild swarm of bees in our backyard, and it was fascinating. It's something that happens within a 3-day period. The bees come, they hung on a redbud tree, on a branch, and they actually form that club-like shape.
Really?
And that's not something that happens specifically each time. They can take many formations, but it just happened to be this big, large, club-like shape. And within 3 days they were off again because the the idea is that they find a new place to house their colony. Yeah. So they're in that. The queen bee is in that club, and all the bees are protecting it, and then there's the scouts that are off looking for a new home.
Okay.
So it happened in 3 days. So
That's
I was
amazing.
inspired.
Yeah, you did several bee paintings.
Right.
They're beautiful, and they're each unique unto themselves. So
Right.
they're wonderful. They came into your life just so they could be painted, and then they flew off. But yeah, and we have other pieces here in the gallery as well of Barb that almost, except for her lotus blossoms, but almost everything that's here is some kind of nature oriented. And so we have one called Invocation, which has the Iowa bird in it, which just totally captivates me. It is like this giant goldfinch, and everyone knows that if you're an Iowan that goldfinches are really small. And then it just is a kind of what do I want to say? An honor. Barb is kind of honoring the beauty of nature with that, and then the beauty of all things great and small with that piece. And so stop in the gallery to see that. You've got to see it firsthand because it's gorgeous.